When four masked hijackers stormed Flight 783, chaos erupted instantly. Passengers screamed, children cried, and panic spread through the cabin like wildfire. But in the middle of this terror, one woman remained completely calm. While everyone else trembled in fear, she sat perfectly still, her eyes calculating rather than frightened. What happened next would change everything the pilot thought he knew about courage and the mysterious people who walk among us. Welcome to The Last Witness. Before we dive into this incredible story, please subscribe to our channel, hit that like button, and let us know in the comments which city you're watching from today. Your support helps us bring you more amazing stories like this one. Captain Thaddeus Emery had been flying for 30 years. After decades in the cockpit, Flight 783 to London Heathrow was supposed to be routine, just another night crossing the Atlantic. With only 3 months left before retirement, he was looking forward to quiet fishing trips instead of these midnight departures. As passengers boarded that evening, everything seemed completely normal. Businessmen tapped at their phones, families settled children with tablets and headphones, elderly couples adjusted their matching neck pillows. Just another full international flight with 347 souls on board. But among these ordinary travelers sat someone extraordinary. She boarded with Group 3, a woman with dark blonde hair pulled back in a simple ponytail. She wore unremarkable navy slacks, a gray sweater and flat shoes. She carried only a small leather backpack that fit neatly under the seat in front of her. To any observer, she looked completely forgettable. Her name was Leocadia Frost. As she made her way to seat 14B, her eyes performed a practice scan of her fellow passengers, a businessman typing furiously on his phone, a mother settling 2 young children with headphones, an elderly couple with matching travel pillows, university students with backpacks. All seemed like normal passengers on a normal flight, but then she noticed them, 4 men boarding separately, dressed differently, appearing to be different ages and ethnicities, yet subtle markers connected them. They all wore the same model of watch. Their posture was eerily similar. They avoided eye contact with each other, while somehow maintaining awareness of each other's positions. They stowed their carry-on bags with unusual care. Leocadia settled into her seat, arranged her minimal belongings, and opened a paperback novel. To anyone watching, she appeared to be just another passenger getting comfortable for a long flight, occasionally sipping water, the perfect picture of a traveler settling in. 3 hours into the flight, most passengers had drifted into sleep or focused on their entertainment screens. The cabin lights were dimmed. Dinner service had ended. Leocadia appeared to doze, but she never fully surrendered to sleep. Her eyelids would close for exactly 12 minutes, then open slightly to scan the cabin before closing again. Then came the moment she had been anticipating since boarding. The first man rose from his seat suddenly, moving toward the rear bathroom. The second followed 30 seconds later, heading forward. The third and fourth moved simultaneously from opposite sides of the aircraft. In practiced motions, they pulled black masks over their faces and produced weapons from hidden compartments in their bags. "Nobody move, hands where we can see them," the tallest terrorist shouted, grabbing the nearest flight attendant and pressing a weapon against her side. Chaos erupted instantly. A woman screamed. A child began wailing. Passengers jolted awake in confusion and terror. "Everyone stay in your seats. This aircraft is now under our control," another hijacker announced, his accent difficult to place. In the cockpit, Captain Emery immediately activated the security lockdown protocol, reinforcing the cockpit door. Through the cabin surveillance cameras, he watched a nightmare unfold. 4 armed men had taken strategic positions throughout the aircraft. Passengers cowered in their seats. Flight attendants were being forced to the front with their hands behind their heads. But then Captain Emery noticed something extraordinary. While passengers around her panicked and trembled, the woman in seat 14B sat perfectly still. She wasn't frozen in fear. This was something entirely different. Her breathing remained calm and measured. Her eyes moved systematically, studying each terrorist's position, calculating distances to exits, analyzing their behavior patterns. When everyone else displayed pure terror, she displayed cold analysis. The hijackers forced passengers into groups, systematically confiscating phones and electronics. Their leader, a lean man with intense eyes visible through his mask, positioned himself where he could monitor both the passengers and the cockpit door. "Communication devices in the trash bins," the leader commanded. "Anyone found with a phone will be shot." Passengers complied with shaking hands, surrendering their devices. One businessman tried to slip his phone into his pocket instead. The nearest hijacker spotted spotted him and delivered a vicious strike to his shoulder. The man crumpled with a cry of pain. Through it all, Captain Emery kept watching the mysterious woman. She surrendered an older phone without protest, but he noticed how her eyes continued tracking each terrorist's movement pattern, how she subtly adjusted her position to maintain clear sightlines to all exits. The terrorist leader moved to the center of the cabin. "Your governments have been notified of our demands," he announced. "Compliance ensures your survival. Resistance ensures your death." To emphasize his point, he fired a single shot into the ceiling. The sharp crack sent fresh panic through the passengers. A woman fainted. A man began praying loudly. In the chaos that followed, Captain Emery kept his eyes fixed on the woman while others flinched and covered their heads. Her gaze locked onto the emergency exit handle 10 rows ahead. Her eyes calculated distances between each terrorist. Her weight shifted forward onto the balls of her feet. Then the leader grabbed a young woman in business attire. "You," he said, pulling her forward. "Your government needs motivation to take our demands seriously." The hostage pleaded quietly. "Please, I have children at home. Your government needs to understand we're serious." The terrorist replied coldly, dragging her toward the front of the aircraft. That's when everything changed. As the woman was dragged forward, something shifted in the mysterious passenger's eyes. Her muscles tensed slightly. Captain Emery leaned closer to the monitor, sensing something was about to happen. What happened next defied belief. The woman moved like liquid lightning. In one fluid motion, she grasped a water bottle from the hijacker nearest to her, twisted it to create leverage against his wrist, and simultaneously drove her other hand into a precise point on his throat. The terrorist collapsed without making a sound. Before anyone could register what had happened, she had already disarmed him and neutralized a second terrorist with clinical efficiency, a strike to the solar plexus followed by an elbow to the temple as he doubled over. The cabin froze in collective shock. For a suspended moment, no one moved. Not passengers, not flight attendants, not the remaining hijackers. Then reality rushed back in a wave of gasps and cries. The terrorist leader released his hostage and barked orders to his remaining associate. They retreated toward the rear, dragging 3 passengers as human shields. "Everyone stay down," the mysterious woman commanded. Her voice transformed from its previous quiet tone to one clearly accustomed to authority. "Heads down, hands over your necks." In the cockpit, Captain Emery and his first officer stared at the monitors in complete disbelief. The galley phone rang. Captain Emery hesitated before answering. "Captain Emery, this is Operative Leocadia Frost, Counterterrorism Strategic Response, Authorization Code Indigo 7 Tango Foxhound. Your aircraft has been targeted for a larger operation. I need immediate cockpit access." The captain exchanged glances with his first officer, who was already checking the authorization code. Her expression shifted from concentration to confusion. "Captain, the code checks out as Counterterrorism Strategic Response, but according to our database, Operative Frost was killed in action 3 months ago. Status deceased." Through the camera, they watched the woman's expression change briefly. "I went deep cover after Caracas," she stated, looking directly into the security camera. "Only Director Halverson knows my operational status. There's a mole in the agency feeding information to these terrorists. That's why I had to be officially declared dead." What followed was the most extraordinary negotiation Captain Emery had ever witnessed. Using information only a deep cover operative could possess, Leocadia revealed to the terrorist leader that his family, whom he believed had been killed, were actually alive and being held by the very organization that had hired him. The shadowy group behind the hijacking, known as Vanguard, wasn't just planning to steal the aircraft. They intended to eliminate all witnesses, including their own operatives, to cover their tracks for much larger attacks planned across Europe. Faced with proof of this betrayal, the terrorist leader's resolve crumbled. His own handlers had deceived him, used his grief as motivation, and planned to murder him once the mission was complete. In a tense standoff that lasted 17 minutes, Leocadia convinced the remaining hijackers to surrender. The aircraft was diverted to a NATO military base in Sicily, where specialized forces were waiting. As passengers were safely evacuated and the terrorists taken into custody, something remarkable happened. In the controlled chaos of the rescue operation, Leocadia Frost simply vanished. By the time Captain Emery emerged from the cockpit, she was nowhere to be found. Military officials claimed all passengers were accounted for, but when pressed about the mysterious operative, they provided only vague responses about classified operations and national security protocols. 3 weeks later, Captain Emery received a Medal of Valor in a private ceremony. News reports described how the skilled pilot had successfully diverted to a military installation after a security incident, with no casualties reported. There was no mention of a mysterious passenger hero. Months after his retirement, Captain Emery was sitting at a cafe in Lisbon when he spotted a woman at a nearby table. Her hair was shorter now, dyed auburn, her posture more relaxed. But when she briefly removed her sunglasses, he recognized those calculating, hyper-aware eyes. She left without acknowledging him, but behind was a newspaper containing documents about ongoing counterterrorism operations. A handwritten note was attached. "Some fights continue after everyone goes home. Some heroes never get parades. The world doesn't know what you did, Captain Emery, but I do." The truth became clear.
There are people who move among us, looking perfectly ordinary, carrying extraordinary burdens. They fight invisible battles to keep the world safe, battles most of us will never know about. They sit in airports, walk down streets, board aircraft, unremarkable until the moment crisis demands otherwise. Flight 783 was saved not by luck or protocol, but by one woman's dedication to protecting innocent lives, even when it meant sacrificing her own identity and living in the shadows forever. Somewhere in the world today, Leocadia Frost continues her work. The fight against those who would harm innocence never ends, and neither do the silent guardians who stand between us and darkness. What would you have done in Captain Emery's position? Would you have trusted a stranger who claimed to be a supposedly dead operative? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to The Last Witness for more incredible stories of ordinary people in extraordinary circumstances.